Hello friends, my name is Bree and welcome to that Iowa homestead. Today we're in my kitchen. Now I have a whole basket full of cucumbers sitting right next to me and a ton more out on the vine that need to be processed. So I thought I would bring you along with me while I prepare to can some pickles. So the recipe that I use for pickles actually takes 2 days to make. So I'm going to do part 1 today and then I'll come back and finish it with part 2. And the recipe that I use is actually in this book right here. As you can see, I have a lot of stuff bookmarked in it. This is the Ball Complete Book of Home Preserving. I love it. It has so many great recipes in it. So I'm going to flip over to this recipe, which is Grandma's Dill Pickles. Now, I've already went ahead and I've made my brine, which is right here. This is just 4 cups of water and 1 cup of, this is just 4 cups of water and half a cup of pickling salt, which if you're going to be doing pickling, you really want to get pickling salt. All right, so this recipe calls for 8 pounds of cucumbers. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to measure out 4 pounds at a time and just split it in half just like that. All right, so here's my 4 pounds. All right, I have all 8 pounds of cucumbers in my brine. I'm going to stick this in my fridge and let it soak overnight, and I will be back tomorrow to get these canned. All right, friends, welcome back to day 2 of this canning video. So, my pickles are still in the fridge in the brine. Back there in my canner, I have my jars that are being sterilized currently. So right now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to get my brine ready that's actually going to go in the jars when I can them. So first thing that I want to do is I've cut a little square of cheesecloth here, and I have put 2 tablespoons of this pickling spice in this cheesecloth. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take this little piece of twine right here and I'm going to tie it shut to create like a little spice bag. So I'm going to take my little makeshift spice bag, put it in my pot, and then from there I'm going to take 6 cups of white vinegar and 8 cups of water and put it in here. And then I'm going to put it on the stove, bring it to a boil, and let it simmer/boil for about 15 minutes or so. All right, while that is simmering back there, I went ahead and I put a colander in my sink. I'm going to grab my cucumbers out of the fridge and we're going to drain them and we're going to rinse them and we're going to get our little area ready for when we start actually putting things in our jars. All right, so I have my whole little area here set right up. These are the seasonings that I'm going to be putting in the jar. I have dill weed here and mustard seed here, and this is just pickle crunch. It keeps your pickles nice and crunchy in the jar so they don't get all mushy. I am still following the recipe in the Ball Complete Book of Home Preserving. I will put a link to this down in the description below if you would like to check it out for yourself. If you already have it, I am using the recipe that is on page 326 called Grandma's Dill Pickles. All right, my brine back there is done. My jars are ready. It's time to load up these jars and pop them in the canner. Okay, so the first thing that we're going to want to do is we're going to want to put this just like this. And then we're going to put a tablespoon of dill weed in the bottom of this jar. And then a teaspoon of mustard seed. And then 1/8 of a teaspoon of this here pickled crisp. Then from there, we're going to go ahead and pack the jars with our cucumbers. Take them over, put the brine in the jar, and then put it in the canner. With these pickles, we want to leave about a 1/2 inch headspace. And I'll show you that when I get over to load the brine into the jars. All right, I think that is good for this one. All right, the last jar is packed. Now all we have to do is get our brine in there. And we want it to be about a 1/2 inch headspace. So I have this really cool little thing here that measures headspace for you based on these little notches down here. So the first one would be 1/4 inch, the second one is 1/2 inch, which is what we are going to go by. And I'm also going to use this to get the air bubbles out. You want to make sure that you go around the jar and kind of shake it up a little bit and get all those air bubbles out so that you have an accurate headspace. Okay, so I need to add just a little bit more. Ooh, I may have added a little too much there. Let's see. Ooh, a little bit. So I'm just going to take this just like that, pour just a tiny bit out. Normally I wouldn't do that back into my brine, but this is the last one that I'm doing, so everything that's left in there is just going to get pitched anyways. Okay, so then I have this towel that has vinegar on it, and I'm just wiping the rim with vinegar. Make sure there's nothing on there that can mess with our seal. There's a lid. Then I have a band. And we're just going to tighten it to what's called finger tight. You don't want to over tighten, just tighten enough. Grab our little jar lifter here. And we'll stick this beautiful can in the canner. All right, friends, my canner is full. I'm just waiting on it to come to a boil, and then I will set my timer for 10 minutes. After that 10 minutes is up, I'm going to turn the heat off, remove the lid off of my canner, and then let it sit for an additional 5 minutes before I take the jars out to cool. All right, my canner has finally come to a full rolling boil. I have my timer set right there for 10 minutes. I'll see you when they're done. All right, these jars are ready to get pulled out of the canner. So I'm going to take them out and go set them over on a towel on the counter so they can cool for the next 12 to 24 hours undisturbed. Doesn't that look great? All right, friends, I am going to let these guys sit on the counter for the next 12 to 24 hours without disturbing them. let them cool completely, and then they'll be ready for me to take the bands off, label them, and put them away. Did you hear the ping? Well, with that, that wraps up today's video. Thank you for coming with me today. I'll see you soon. Another ping.